right. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you can, would it be possible to move in or scoot forward? Because we do have a lot of chairs filled today. And in fact, there's some standing room in the back right now. So there are some open seats up here in the front. And yeah, that's great. There's one on the side. Okay, great. Oh, the cushions are not reserved. They do add to the atmosphere. Feel free to claim a chair. Okay. I love all the pajamas. This is great. Okay, my first question for everyone requires your participation. Raise your hand if you like to take naps. This is great. I'm up there. I do it when I'm stressed. Okay, now raise your hand if you guys get to take naps. How many of you actually get to? Oh, okay. Some, maybe less. I see some thumbs down. Okay. When the topic was pitched for rest as the theme for today, one of the families was like, "Oh, that's a perfect topic for you," and they were talking to their daughter, and I was wondering if that was because they took a lot of naps, like were they a big rest person, or do they need to take more naps? And I wasn't sure. But I do know now that, like most of us, she's just a very busy person, and it's more rest that we all need. So it is biblical. Rest is a theme in Genesis. God sets out this rhythm for us to do it. And when we're in the middle of our busyness and even sometimes burnout, that is just what we need. So, as we engage in this question of the spiritual practice, we want to ask ourselves how this could be a communal practice and like a personal question. We're asking ourselves, like, what brings us rest? And what can we do to rest together? And I do want to shout out our church because that's what we were engaging in last week when we were at Adlena Park together, engaging in a communal practice of rest. But today, we get to see another example of that. We get to have a panel of our youth who are also very busy and lead full lives, taking time to be together with us in worship and to even share some wisdom with us. So I am very excited to announce our panel and welcome them up. Please welcome Abigail, Lucas, and Allison to the front. You guys all get your mics too. Awesome. Wow. Okay. This is so beautiful. So as you guys are coming up here, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself. Let us know your name and your grade, and then.
I'm Allison, and I'm a senior in high school.
I'm Abigail, and I'm in sixth grade.
I'm Lucas, and I'm also in sixth grade.
Awesome. Okay, our first question is on the topic of what brings you rest. So, what are some things or even places that you find restful?
I'll go first. Okay. What I said is I think a change of scenery really makes me feel restful because I think it's more than anything, it's refreshing. And it can be like the day-to-day changes, like coming home from school, or if you're feeling restless at home from all your homework, like going out with friends. I think it's just like really refreshing.
For me, what makes me feel restful is spending time with family. You feel supported if you're going through something tough, and even if they don't understand what you're going through, they still listen to what you have to say.
Well, I'm a very social person, so I believe that just being with anybody, being able to talk to someone, just having someone around helps me feel restful.
Nice. I love that. It's a good reminder that community can help. Okay, the second question is what are some things for you or for others around you that end up stealing your peace or making you feel stressed?
I think the things that steal my peace the most are expectations, and they can be from myself, they can be from other people, but especially I think they're the internal expectations that I perceive that others have about me, even if it's not true. I think that's the biggest one. And because I think trying to meet these expectations, it's exhausting sometimes. And it's different from goals. I think having goals is a healthy thing. But I think when you think other people have expectations of you to like, for your achievements or things that you do, I think it can become unhealthy for me sometimes because for me, my identity is tied so tightly with like things that I do or like achievements I have. And so if I can't do it or if I can't accomplish a certain thing that I think other people expect of me, then it takes away from my value as a person for me.
Things that steal my peace, probably just like daily assignments or maybe even like schoolwork. Maybe even like tasks in general when I don't have enough time, all those things start piling up as things that I need to do, things that have to get done, things that I'm worried about in the future, and when that all stacks up eventually, it makes me feel really overwhelmed.
For me, I think just having no downtime can make me feel stressed and makes me feel anxious. Um, like knowing I have like work and different deadlines looming, it just makes me feel um, like not. It makes me feel like I have to be like careful, and then my mind's like just racing, and I'm like even like going like sometimes just going to sleep like that's like the only time I can feel rest in the day. Just like we all know we need a little bit of downtime, and I find that well at least I find that I need a bit of downtime to help me feel rest.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that we all are made for this balance, and sometimes our society does not encourage it, but we all feel it. We all feel the need. This is a follow-up question, still on the topic of rest, but what exhausts you or keeps you working past your limits?
I think this ties back into my other answer where it's mostly myself because I don't have a job or anything. And so it's not like no one's gonna fire me if I don't do, make a deadline. And so I feel like I know that deep down it's never like that deep. Like it's gonna be fine, but like I think it's mostly like the expectations of other people. Like I think like, oh, I'm a bad person if I can't do this. If I can't be a good daughter or a good student or a good athlete. It's those kind of things that make me like push myself past what's healthy for me. And I think another thing is like the societal bias that we have against rest because I think our world, it's easy to be called lazy or unproductive or feel like you're falling behind if you try to rest. And I think we believe that so deeply that we can impose it on other people, like as parents or as peers, even if we don't mean to. And so I think it's easy to judge ourselves in the same way we judge other people just because it's part of our society and who we are.
Things that exhaust me, it kind of relates to what I said before. When you have like all these tasks and deadlines, and you feel like you can't meet them, you feel this pressure like I have to get this done by this time, by this time and like this day, or else you feel like you're not enough for yourself, or like maybe even for assignments in school, you feel like you have to get it done, even if it's not one of the priorities that you want to prioritize.
Well, I stated before that I'm a very extroverted person, so I have like a lot of friends, and then but I find that my friends both exhaust me and give me energy. We all have like the annoying friend, the one who's always goofing off, and then we have like the one who's always right by your side. Which there's a balance. You need both because and everybody has both, but I
One.
feel like the annoying friend they can exhaust me and give me energy. And then it depends on like the environment. Like if we're doing like a school related project and the annoying friend is like goofing off, then that's like so exhausting for me. I get all frustrated and then but if we're like playing video games together at someone's house, having a sleepover or something, that's when it gets fun. Everybody's like in the same mood, and then they're all like, there's like a vibe going on, and then that's when everybody's like thinking the same thing, and they're like, let's have fun. And, and I think that helps me stay or keep my energy up.
Nice. That's good. Okay. This next question is kind of like, what have you noticed makes the adults around you struggle to find their peace? But we can also talk about like, how do you guys talk about how you're doing, if it's good or bad, like in your own homes, like in your families. What is your experience with that? So
I think something that makes adults distressed around me or seems to make them feel stressed is for my parents, their kids. And I think, because, no, but like they take on everything about, they have their own lives still, obviously, but they take on our lives too and like our stress. And for me, I have a sister, so it's like triple, like their life, my life, her life. And so everything that's bad, like they feel it too, you know? And I think it's also very one-sided because if my mom's having a hard day at work, I'm just like, oh, that sucks, but do you want to hear about my math test? Like it doesn't really like, but if it's the other way around, like she wants to hear about it and she feels it too, you know? And like they take on, I think sometimes even more than we do, like in our own life, especially when you're young, like they schedule everything for you, they feed you and they like wash your clothes, I don't know. So it's like they like have to take on more of the stressors in your life than you do sometimes. And then aside from my parents, like everyone else, obviously everyone's situation is different, with, like work and finances, but I don't really understand that stuff yet, so. Are we doing like what advice would we give them to?
sure, yeah, we can also share this next part, which is what advice would you give?
Okay, I think it's very much easier said than done, obviously. But aside from like praying and really setting aside time for yourself, I think it's very easy to get lost in the other people because when you're an adult, I feel like you have a lot of people depending on you. So setting aside time for yourself, it can be really like overlooked. And then I think, yeah, like being intentional about those things. But then I think especially like the little things that we don't realize take up so much of our mental space can be like chores and like just stuff around the house, like grocery shopping. I think those are the things that like fill all the little spaces that you might have in between your schedule. Like that just fills it, and so it makes it that you have like no time around you. And so I think like delegating those things, obviously easier said than done, but like I think the trying to delegate like the mental labor, either like between like mom and dad or like to your kids if they're old enough. But I also think with like your kids, it's a very fine line between like giving them responsibility and like giving them freedom. Because I think especially teenagers, it can be really easy to feel like you're like expected to be an adult, but you're being treated like a kid. And I think that can be hard. But I think if you just like trust your kids to like, I don't know, get it done. I'm not saying make them do more chores. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying, but like, but I'm saying like the mental load of all that stuff takes up so much more space than you realize it does. Yeah.
Kind of convicting. Nice.
I think a main source of stress for adults is probably financial concerns, maybe with housing or even like, can I pay the bills? What do I need to do to save money? And I think it's also another big role in like causing stress for adults is work-related things. I have this big due date for a project, or I need one more day to finish it, but I don't think I can finish it. I think those things like really take a toll on adults, and the advice that I would give them is strengthen your boundaries. If you find yourself like spending your relaxation time stressing about things that you think you need to get done, then you're not really relaxing at all. If you don't meet that limit of like how much rest you need, then sometimes you feel like exhausted even though you think that you spent enough time for yourself, taking time to relax. And if you don't meet that limit of how much you relax, you start stressing out even more than if you had stronger boundaries between your work and like your personal life with family.
So I believe that adults really feel stressed after work, like Abigail said, and also because of their kids, like Allison said, and um, so me and my family, we have this thing called Rose and Thorns. When we get home during dinner time, we talk about a rose and a thorn, a good thing and a bad thing that happened that day. And then, so me and my brother, we're always like, we always have like little minor things that happen during the day, and then we usually have like no thorns. And then I find that my parents usually have like at least one or two, which is sad. Um, and then it's usually about work, and then they're like, and then so me and my brother, we just have like really short things. Like we don't have much to talk about when we talk about our rose and thorns. And my parents are always like, yeah, so my dad's a teacher, and he's like, oh yeah, I had this student who wasn't behaving, and my mom's always like, oh yeah, this deadline for a research project got moved up, and my boss is forcing me to like do this faster, and I can't. Yeah, so I think it just shows you there's boundaries you can't push past. You have your limits, and then if even if your boss is like forcing you to do something, and they're like, and like I know there's a chance that you could get like fired or something if you if you don't listen to them, but there is also the fact that you can't do everything, and like you can like you can try working overtime and stuff like that, but in the end you have limits.
Good. Yeah. I think something Lucas has shared before too is like don't be too hard on yourself because it's a lot. Yeah. I also like that those are conversations that you guys have because I think talking about those things helps when stressors start to add up. So it might not be like super stressful in your day to day in a given week, but when you're able to connect with somebody and like, have those dinner time conversations, I think it can make a difference. Cool. So the last question, or the fourth question that I have is, what are some ways for yourself or that you've seen where your faith or your relationship with Jesus helps you to find peace, rest, or comfort?
I think mostly what helps is that knowing that there's someone else who fully understands you and fully understands what we're going through. Because I think a lot of times you feel stressed when you feel alone, but you're actually not. And so what helps me is like, I don't do this enough, but like journaling everything. Because I try to pray, but then I get distracted. And so I write it down instead. And I think just like complaining and like ranting everything to Jesus, like write it down, it really helps. But after that, I just like sit and listen to what he has to say. Like after I've gotten like all my noise out, I just like, it really helps to sit and listen. And even doing it with other people, like you rant to them and tell them everything and then just like listen to them or just sit and listen to God together. I think that's really beautiful too. Yeah.
For me, it helps to look back on my personal relationship with God. It always feels good to have someone understand what you're going through, and sometimes you just feel really sad when no one understands like the situation that you're being put in or maybe the challenges that you have to face. And I think it really helps. God's like your anchor. He helps you look back on like the simple things that maybe you can rely on that you don't think of much, like you can always rely on him to listen to your prayers or like the needs that you feel like you want to add in your life, or maybe even the things that you just want to make yourself feel better or make yourself feel more comfortable in a certain difficult situation. And I think it really helps to look back on your personal relationship with God and it helps you focus on the simple thing, which is He's always there for you, and He has unconditional love, no matter what you're going through.
Well, I find I'm a person who's always trying to do nothing wrong. I'm trying to be the innocent one. Um, yeah, so I find that when I do something wrong, I feel more guilty than other people do. And then I really like force it upon myself to do better next time. And then I get really like frustrated, and then like I just feel like there's like something in my heart like pushing me to like do better. And then I feel like God just talking to Him, knowing there's someone who's listening to my concerns with myself. And then even if you like, you can pray for whatever, but then sometimes those prayers aren't answered. But sometimes it is nice just to like know that you were able to pray and that He hears you. And yeah, I think knowing there's someone who's always listening, who knows what you feel, can help me. It can help like you feel rest and comfort in yourself.
That's good. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think as we talked, there was sort of a theme that emerged. That rest is, there's like a physical rest that your body needs, and there's also like a mental or spiritual rest that sometimes we feel the weight of that we need. So I think it's a powerful thing to know the difference and know that both are necessary, and that all these panelists have expressed like they know where to go to find both of those kinds of rest. So that's beautiful. The last question that I want to really ask is, what can our limitations teach us?
I think our limitations can mostly remind us of our godly design, because we weren't designed to work all the time, because God made it so that we have to eat and we have to sleep. Like we have to, like if we didn't have to eat or sleep, we would just work all the time. But He put physical limits on us so that we would have to take a break, you know? Every single day we would have to take a break. Because when we're not functioning in the way in which we were created, it's obviously unhealthy. It's not good, and it starts showing. It starts showing up in us in stress. Like physically, we get exhausted. Mentally, we get exhausted, and then we don't perform as well. We can't be there for the people who like need us. We can't be like the best mothers and fathers. We can't be the best like employees, anything like that. And so I think rest is a very godly thing, because God rested. We were created by a God who rested too. And so, yeah. And I think it really helps us too to realize that not everything's in our control. Because I think when we take a step back and rest, like you realize that some things you're worried about, you can't help it. And like being in silence, I think really helps, because this world, I think, glorifies noise. Like the loudest person always wins. It's always like the loudest people who get the most attention, who get like promotions, everything like that. And so, but I think being in silence is also an act of like defiance against that societal norm. And it can really like help you spiritually, I think.
I think our limitations can teach us like what we as a person like to prioritize or focus on. If you're like stressed and you hate how your time and work or stress it overlaps into your free time, then that just lets you know that you like to prioritize time for your rest and that you don't like it when other things come in the way of you resting. So I think your limitations can really teach you, maybe if you didn't even know it, like what you like to focus on or what you need to focus on so you don't feel more stressed.
Well, going back to what Allison said, God put physical limitations on us, but He also put mental limitations on us. So it's like if you're like all stressed out, like your brain goes into like overtime, and it's like thinking of like every single minute of the day. It's just thinking about all the bad things, the stressors. But I think we need to take time to focus on the good things in life and the things that don't stress you out. You should be thinking about those. Like I mean, I know it's important because a lot of the things that you stress about are probably work related, and work is important. But there's also, you need to know that there's a time you have to rest. And then your limitations teach you not to be too hard on yourself. Yeah, because you do have limitations, and that's a really real fact.
Good. Wow. One of the things we also talked about is that sometimes the things you enjoy are the first to go when you don't rest. And that's kind of like important to who we are as people too, because we are given general grace to experience good things and to connect and to enjoy life. And sometimes that gets lost too. So when we don't rest, we lose out on life and experiencing the goodness of life. Thank you so much, panel. Can we all give them a round of applause?